Hello again and welcome back to the channel. So today I have another G.I. Joe classified review for you. This time I'm going to do my very best to review 3 figures at once, the entire 7th wave. I'm pretty sure this is the 7th wave, although I am getting a little bit confused with the waves of late as the figures have tended to release out of order. I got these from the Big Bad Toy Store. I paid $72 US, which is around 115 Australian dollars. I can't really grumble at that price because distribution in Australia is still pretty poor, so I don't have much of a choice. I did pre-order these a while back, not really sure why it took so long, just happy to have them I guess. So taking a look at Spirit Iron Knife at first, in a wave that consists of Storm Shadow and Spirit Iron Knife, you'll probably be surprised to hear that it was this guy that I was looking forward to the most. I am a huge fan of Storm Shadow and I'm so glad that I've got him, but for me, this is where the course correcting started to happen for Hasbro, at least in my opinion. Early Outback, I think he was very good too. I did like the Croc Master, but it was when I saw the Spirit Iron Knife photos I thought, yes, they're starting to get things right. They're starting to course correct, and looking at this figure, I think that they absolutely have done a smashing job. So taking a look at the box, I'm going to miss this as we move towards the windowless boxes. Number 36 in the line, all his particulars, Spirit Iron Knife. On the back, some newer artwork, so it looks like Storm Shadow's making an appearance as well as Spirit up in the top there. So we're really happy that they keep updating this. And then, I'm not a huge fan of that artwork, no disrespect to the artist. Yeah, but I'm not a huge fan of that. I do think now in hindsight that they could have put the old retro carded artwork on the side just so that we could have had them all displayed. Yeah, that is a bit of a shame. Some of the artwork is nice, but it would have kept them nice and conformed. And then taking a look at Storm Shadow. So again, nice big display. Man, I really am going to miss these. So I do like this artwork, but I would still favour the previous artwork for this. 35 in the line, Storm Shadow and all his bits and pieces. And then on the back, the exact same artwork that we had with Spirit. And then finally, the Cobra Officer. So he is a little bit different. I will compare him with the other Cobra infantryman and trooper that I have. Again, some nice artwork, but yeah, it still stands. I would have preferred the old 80s artwork. And on the back, the exact same splash. Number 37, and then all his particulars. So let's open them up and take a look. Okay, so let's start off with the Cobra Officer. Now this video is timestamped, so if you want to jump ahead and check out Spirit or Storm Shadow, please feel free. Let's start off by having a quick look at the 25th anniversary Cobra Officer. If you've seen any of my reviews, then you know that I'm a huge fan of the classified when they are more in line with their retro counterpart, or in this case, the 25th anniversary counterpart. And I'm very happy. You can see that there is a keen eye to what the original one looked like. The blue, it's there, the webbing is there. There is some changing to the colour schemes in the webbing, but I think that's for the better here. And in terms of the loadout as well, he does come with an assault rifle similar to the original, and he also has a combat knife. So I'm very pleased there. Even the silver Cobra emblem has been recreated, so they've done a very good job. So putting the figure aside just for a moment, let's check out those accessories. So he does come with a helmet. And this is virtually identical to the Cobra Infantryman and Cobra Trooper. However, he does have the distinguished emblem on the front. He also has a holster for, I guess it would be for his rifle, although you could get his other sidearm in there. We'll take a look at that in a moment. This is nicely done. It has some texturing on it to make it look like leather, and then it has the embossed Cobra. So very nicely done. Obviously just pegs into his back, and I'll load him out in just a moment. He also comes with a pistol. It looks like a Luger style pistol. I don't really know my firearms, but that, if I'm not mistaken, is some type of Luger, and that's quite nicely done. It even has, you probably can't pick that up, but it even has a tiny Cobra just embossed there on the handle. So that's a nice touch. I'm very surprised to see that. he comes with a combat knife. And I feel like they've improved the quality here a little bit. This just seems a little bit nicer. It's still the same material, you know, that very pliable plastic, but the paint applications are a little bit better. It could just be the lighting, but it looks like it has a subtle wash on the blade. So very nicely done. And then he has another sidearm. Not really sure what to call this. It's sort of like is it a shotgun? It could be some sort of shotgun, not entirely sure. And I believe you can get the magazine in there. Possibly. Not entirely sure. And while we're on that, you do get 2 of these magazines. And then finally, he comes with his assault rifle. So this is almost entirely matte black with the exception of the stock, which is a nice brown. It also has, a removable clip. It's very nice. And then finally, it comes with a scope. Let's take a look. Maybe the scope is for this one. Nope. Ah, here we are. Finally. So there we go. Scope just fits on the front of the rifle. Very nice. So taking a close look at the actual figure. So he is very similar to what we've seen before with the infantryman and the trooper, but he has just enough differences. So taking a look at the actual infantryman, you can see that the colour schemes are ever so subtly different. It's a slightly lighter blue on the officer, but then there is new tooling. The webbing is all new. The belt is new. There's a new sculpt for the face, for the balaclava. There are some reuses, but that's to be expected. They are part of the same faction. So the arms, for example, are almost identical. The gloves are a little bit different. And then also the legs, very similar. The boots, however, are different. But overall, I think it does have enough differences. And something that this one has, which I think is a nice touch, it has this belt where you can get almost all of the accessories loaded out. So let's do a quick loadout. There we are. So all loaded out. Okay, so next up is Spirit Iron Knife. So starting off with the accessories, let's take a look at the backpack. So I really like the beefier, chunkier backpacks with the Joes. This is very nicely done, nicely sculpted. Just the 2 colours, the sandy brown and then the matte black. And he does have a perch here for the eagle and a peg. I believe that's for his sniper rifle. While we're on the topic of the sniper rifle, let's take a look at that. This is very nicely done. sculpting is really impressive. Just the two colours, the matte black and then the brown for the stock. It's a shame that they don't use the sturdier plastic. I feel like this warrants that, just to give it that extra something. But it is still very nice, and it has a interchangeable magazine. And then he also comes with two daggers. The first is this rather unremarkable matte black dagger. And then the second is this really cool sculpted dagger. So it's got like this rough texture to it. Almost looks like it's made out of flint or stone. And it has this very nicely sculpted bone handle. That is a very nice piece. It also comes with a sidearm. It's very straightforward. Oh, however, looks like, let's see if I can get it on camera. Just across here, sculpted in, it's an eagle wing. That is very nice. I don't know if that's a desert eagle or if that's obviously because it comes with an eagle. But that is very nice. Subtle. It's a shame that they've understated it, because I feel like if they'd brought that out with maybe a silver dry brush or wash, it really would have done it justice, but it's kind of hidden away as it is. That is a bit of a shame. And then finally, his eagle. So this is actually very impressive. I didn't know this is almost completely articulated. So the head is on a ball joint, so you get rotation at the head. And also the sculpting is very nicely done. Paint applications are also very impressive. Look at those eyes. And the wings are articulated, and so are legs. And you get swappable wings, so you can actually put these flight wings on. And this is very nice too. It has this very subtle dry brushing across the feathers, only on the one side, that side there. But it really adds a nice accent to it. It's just a soft plastic, but you can completely swap them out. So that's really cool. And I'll pop it on his backpack in a moment. I'll see if he can take that weight. But moving on to Spirit himself. So I do actually have the 25th anniversary edition here. And you can see they've really, really done it justice. Very, very similar. There are some differences, of course. The rifle is a little bit different, the backpack is different. But the overall colour scheme, it works. So very, very happy with that. Now, as I said in the introduction, this is the figure that I was most excited about. However, one thing I didn't realise was this is not pinless. It's a bit of a shame because I do prefer the pinless figures, and to me it suggests that it's a completely new figure. But this still looks fantastic, even with the pins. Hasbro have done a fantastic job with this figure. Everything about it works. The rolled up sleeves, the colour they've used for the shirt. I really like his strapping that he's got here. He also has this I believe it's a communication device that the other Joes have. I'd be happy to see the end of that, to be honest, but you know, it's not a big deal. They've kept that in there. And then the actual sculpt, that face sculpt, it's very well done. And his hair is a soft plastic, so it's not going to hinder articulation, but we'll check that out in a moment. There's a very stern look on his face, that extra piece of hair coming down over the bandana. And then he has two, there we are, he has two sheaths for his daggers, one here on his chest and another on his leg. The belt is all one piece. I thought this was a separate piece here, but it's actually all attached. The whole thing is all one piece. And then he has the double strapped holster as well. Shame that they didn't put anything else on this. You know, they could have maybe put a few extra details on it, a wash or something, just to bring it out a little bit, because that is a little bit flat, but it's not a big deal. I don't know that I've seen these boots. I'm going to say no. These look like a new mold. They're like these interwoven straps over the laces. So he is very nice. However, I don't think I'm as impressed as I was with Storm Shadow. It could be because I just wasn't prepared for how good Storm Shadow was. But this is still definitely in my top 5. It's a very, very nice figure. And he has a gauntlet here. I think that's for, it must be the eagle. So let's see if I can load him out. Okay, so didn't quite work with the bird, but you get the idea. Okay, so next up is Storm Shadow, and wow, if you ever had any doubts about how Hasbro were handling the classified line, this should put them to bed. This is a fantastic figure. I am already very, very impressed. I think that Hasbro knew they had to get Storm Shadow right, especially old school Storm Shadow. So let's start off with some of the accessories. He comes with this gorgeous quiver. At first I thought it was just retooled from the Arctic Storm Shadow, but it's not. It is a complete new sculpt, and he has his twin sheaves for his blades. But something which is really quite cool, he comes with one single arrow, so you can actually apply that to the compound bow, but if not, it just slots ever so perfectly in with all the others. That is a real nice touch. And then moving on, he comes with not one, but two swords. And these are very well done. It is that soft, pliable plastic. Shame it's not a little bit sturdier, but the paint applications are very nice. And the sculpting, he has this serpent blade handle. It's so well done. And likewise for the shorter blade. Now, I'm sure there's proper names for these blades. I don't know what they are. Please feel free to educate me in the comments. So this is pretty much the same, but obviously shorter. And you can pop those into the sheaths. It also comes with a compound bow. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this. I wasn't a huge fan of the bow that came with the Arctic Storm Shadow. That was more of a long bow, whereas this is a compound bow. But it is nice to have it, and particularly if you can just pop it on his back out of the way. It does have these softer plastic for the, I'm not entirely sure, the bow, I guess, the strings, there you go, the strings. The rest of it is quite flexible. Doesn't feel like it's going to break. It feels like it would fit into his hands. Very nice. Just some red and then matte black. And then he also comes with an accessory for his belt, which just fastens onto the back there. And then finally the hood. Don't think I'm going to display him with the hood. We will have a look at it. In fact, let's do it right now. You'd probably have to pop it off. Let's give it a go. Okay, so in you go. Let's see how it looks. No, I'm not really a fan of that. It sits a bit strange. I guess you could manipulate it, I suppose. But no, I think I'll go with the hood down version. Okay, so figure in hand, I can tell you that this is easily the best classified I own. It's close, but this beats Outback. It's just gorgeous, everything about it. The texture is really, really nice. He has a little bit of weight to him. He is completely pinless. The sculpting is really well done. There are some slight paint application issues with the eyebrows, not too bad. They didn't mess up the eyes, and he does have, can't really tell, he does have what looks like a very small scar on his eye there. Or it could just be a happy accident with the apps, not sure. The sculpting for his gi is just very, very well done. The creases, just the overall texture. A nice Cobra emblem, the tears as well for the shoulders. And he has this floating belt, which is a slight shade darker, or rather lighter than this white. And there are some ever so slight spills with the paint apps, but it's not a big deal. And then the belt that goes over his shoulder, it looks like he has some, I'm going to say ninja stars. I'm sure I'm going to get berated in the comments there. What are they? Shurikens? Is that what they're called? And that's very nicely done too. And then I know that many people have been a bit disappointed with the hand wraps, that he actually has gloves and not just wraps and then bare fists. And I'm pretty sure that's what they've done with the retro carded version, which has yet to be released. So again, looks like they've been listening to people, or it could just be that they are just cashing in again, probably the latter. But regardless, it's nice to see that they are actually doing something where you can get the later figure if you prefer, or like me, you probably end up getting both. I have to say though, I don't know, saying that I will get the other one, because I just can't see any issues with this figure. I don't mind the gloves. The wraps as well around the legs, really well done, nice texturing, has a very subtle weathering to it, or a wash, a distinctive colour from the rest of the gi, so it just looks really good. Yeah, oh man, I'm just gushing. This figure is awesome. Sculpting as well. Check out his triceps. He's jacked. Yeah, so very, very well done. I think I'm going to struggle. My gripes with this will be the gripes that I have with all of the figures. You know, no stand, no extra hands, those gripes that we've heard before, because there isn't anything else that I can really fault this figure on. He is definitely a standout. So I will do my best to load him out. Finally, took some doing, struggled with the bow, but got there in the end. So my final thoughts on the G.I. Joe Classified Wave 7. There is a lot to like with this wave. I had a huge sense of nostalgia reviewing these figures, and if this is a sign of things to come from Hasbro, then I think they've finally started listening to the fans, they've righted some of those earlier mistakes, and they're starting to course correct the line. At least that's what I hope, because these figures are absolute standouts. Yeah, there are a few minor gripes here and there. Something which I didn't really mention with Spirit is his sniper rifle is just ever so slightly too short. It doesn't really work when you're trying to get him looking down that scope, but that is a minor gripe. In terms of the Cobra Officer, I didn't cover the articulation, but he's everything that you'd expect. He's essentially an army builder, and there's nothing about him that doesn't work. But the standout is Storm Shadow. They absolutely nailed this figure. A fantastic piece and a must-have in any collection. The only thing that I would say is what I've always said: why don't we get stands and why don't we get extra hands? They give us stands with the retro carded figures, so why not throw in stands? I really want to see stands moving forward. I know that hands might be a bit of a reach, but give us a fisted hand at least. I hate the look of an open hand, empty trigger finger hand on the shelf. Give us a fisted hand. I don't see why they can't do it. Maybe look at what Valiverse are doing with Action Force line, take some pointers there. Well, that about wraps up the video. I certainly hope that you've enjoyed it, and if you like this content, then please do consider subscribing. Until next time, take care.